Welcome to Bloomberg Law. I'm Lee Pacchia. Joining me now is New York State Senator Jeff Klein, who recently announced a new anti-cyberbullying bill. Welcome. Thank you for coming in today.
Good to see you again, Lee.
Likewise. So let's start at the beginning. What is cyberbullying? What's the definition?
Well, cyberbullying is going to be created as a new crime. It presently doesn't exist under New York statute. What my legislation will do is two things. First, presently, the stalking laws are silent on cyberbullying. So now the crime of cyberbullying will be considered stalking in the third degree, which would be a misdemeanor. However, bullycide would be the intentional crime, which would be the second prong of the statute. So in other words, if you commit stalking in the third degree or cyberbullying, and you intentionally cause someone to commit suicide, that would be bullycide, which would be manslaughter, which could be punishable up to 15 years in jail.
So how did this all come about? I mean, is there a prototypical cyberbullying episode that you have in mind when you proposed this bill? What are some of the examples that led to this all coming to pass?
Well, one of the things that we unveiled a couple weeks ago was a really very comprehensive study, the first of its kind in New York State, which really showed the problem of cyberbullying in New York, and also showing that there really isn't any statute, and we're not recognizing it as a crime. So that was really the first step. If you look at the numbers, they're quite startling. 40% of young people, teenagers, in both middle school and high school have been the victim of cyberbullying. If you look at gay and lesbian teenagers, 54%, 1 out of every 2 gay and lesbian teenagers are the victim of cyberbullying.
I mean, are we talking about harassment in a public forum, like a chat room, or is it more something like, just a Facebook page gets bombed by someone's friends in elementary school?
It's a whole host of things, and some more vicious than others. It's Facebook, it's Twitter. We had a young woman who I've been working with who actually was at the press conference when we unveiled the legislation in the report, Jamie Isaacs, who was actually bullied over the internet for over 8 years. They established a site, the I Hate Jamie site, where eventually there were 200 followers, until finally, she transferred schools. Now she's doing great. She has a 24-hour hotline, and she's been able to deal with the problem. But we also know of the unfortunate incident that happened in Western New York of Jamie Rodemeyer, who was, again, cyberbullied throughout middle school, was about to start the high school, and it continued, and unfortunately, Jamie took his life.
Okay, so walk me through the bill. What's in there?
First, we're creating the crime of cyberbullying, which would be stalking in the third degree, which would be a misdemeanor. And then if you intentionally cause somebody to commit suicide through cyberbullying, that would be manslaughter in the third degree, which would be punishable up to 15 years in jail.
That seems like a difficult analysis to go through, though. I mean, getting in the mind of someone that commits suicide, it's an awful thing, but it's also very difficult to know what people are thinking. How does the bill or the law, if it comes to pass, how does the bill walk that line? That's a very difficult analysis to go through.
Very, very, very good question. Most of the criminal justice laws we pass are merely giving prosecutors the tools they need to prosecute these crimes. Let me give you sort of an example of sort of a case study where this law would be applicable. Let's say there's somebody who's being cyberbullied over, several months, let's say even over years. The school authorities find out about it. They have a sit-down where the victim, as well as the cyberbully, and the teachers are involved. They have the sit-down, and they try to speak to both of the teenagers. The teenager who's being cyberbullied says, I can't take it anymore. I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating. If this doesn't stop, I'm going to take my own life. So there are those telltale signs. The meeting ends, the cyberbullying continues. That would be an example of bullycide. When we try to prove, any criminal statute, you have to have intent, and you have to have what's called as foreseeability. And I think that case study that I gave you would solve the intent as well as the foreseeability.
Something that jumps out at me here, we're talking about internet technology at the end of the day. Why isn't there more of an emphasis on internet controls in this initiative? I mean, at a certain point, people can simply turn Twitter off. They can move away from Facebook, throw their MySpace page into the trash.
No, you're right. But something, we have a generation growing up using all of that technology. And that technology is great. But at the same time, we have to be mindful when technology turns against us, and I think we have to work accordingly. And if someone intentionally is sending anonymous posts, or not even anonymous posts, and really making someone's life miserable through Twitter or Facebook or the internet, I think we have to recognize it's a crime, and I think we have to punish it as such.
Let's talk about process. You're hoping to have this voted on in January. What kind of support have you gotten from your fellow senators?
We've got a tremendous amount of support. We're going to have several of my colleagues are already asking to co-sponsor the bill even before the bill was introduced. Like I said, I've been working with a lot of grassroots organizations. A terrific group that I have the pleasure of working with is a group called Teen Angels, high school students from all over the state who go to schools and educate kids about cyberbullying. So we're building that grassroots support, and I think it's important that we recognize this as the crime that it is. So I'm really, I'm not taking anything for granted. This is one of my top priorities, and I want to make sure that we get the support we need to make sure that this law comes to fruition.
Do you have the votes to pass the bill?
I think we do. I think we do. I can't imagine who would support it. I guess there's always those who would say, well, you're punishing teenagers. But let me tell you something. I have a lot of experience in passing tough criminal justice laws. And when we pass a criminal justice law, we hope that it'll have a chilling effect. In other words, you won't commit the crime because the punishment is so severe. I just passed legislation last year which made it a crime for the first time, a felony crime, to vandalize a house of worship. I heard it time and time again, oh, it's teenagers, it's kids being kids, they're pulling pranks. That's nonsense. And I think we have to treat cyberbullying the same as we treated the vandalism crime under my other bill. And I think we were successful in that avenue, and I think we'll be successful in passing a cyberbullying statute in this upcoming legislative session.
All right, well, we'll have to see how it plays out. Senator, thanks so much for stopping by today. That's New York State Senator Jeff Klein. If you'd like to learn more about the issues we just discussed, go check out the Bloomberg Law Technology Report. It's available on BloombergLaw.com. I'm Lee Pacchia. Thanks for watching.